January 2019 meeting of the Southampton Village Zoning Board of Appeals is now open. We have several decisions on the agenda. First one is William Pappas, 85 Hunting Street. Can I have a motion on that?
I move we accept that decision as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Captain's Neck Lane 1 LLC, 455 Captain's Neck Lane.
I move that we accept that decision as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jan Split Purchase Trust, 56 Gin Lane.
I move that we accept that decision as written.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And James and Mary Callanan, 90 Meadowmere Place.
I move that we accept that decision as written.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If you'll notice, there's two others at the top of that agenda. 0 Squabble Lane, we do not have that decision this month. James Gleason, the attorney is asking to reopen that case, and that will be on the February agenda. Can I have a motion to accept his request?
I was going to say you need a motion to reopen it and then adjourn it
Right.
until February for all purposes.
Can I have a motion to reopen James Gleason?
I move that we reopen the James Gleason.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now can I have a motion that we adjourn until next month?
I move that we adjourn the Gleason application until next month.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That takes us down to the pending cases. Spur, we have a letter to adjourn. That brings us up to McDonald's USA LLC, case number 3010.
Good
On the agenda for a while. And it delivered to us a huge package.
Extra copies. Take one of the rest of them. Super.
We had this in September.
You gonna stamp that one? So this will go on file. Good evening, Mr. Acting Chairman and honorable members of ZBA. Keith Brown, Town Alderman, 538 Belleville Road, Suite 301 West Noble, New York, 11747. I'm here tonight with respect to McDonald USA LLC's application for a variance and special permit approval in connection with its renovations of the existing McDonald's restaurant located on North Sea Road and conversion of a tandem drive-through into a side-by-side drive-through at the property. As you may recall, we first appeared before the board on September 27th of last year seeking approval for the expansion of the existing restaurant as required by this board's December 16th, 1999 decision. At the September 27th hearing, this board provided a number of comments on the proposed site plan drawings that have since been incorporated and provided to the board and the board's outside consultant, Nelson Pope and Voorhees, for its review and reference. Specifically, the following changes have been made to the site plan drawings. First and foremost, the outdoor seating has been reduced to 6.
Show us that
I beg your pardon?
on the table?
Can you show it on the table?
You have to.
Mr. Brown, what you submitted tonight, is that just a reduced copy of what you've already submitted?
Correct.
Okay.
And which is a reduced copy of what Mr. Swaggart is going to place on the table.
Where's the religious institution? It says religious institution, where is that?
I want to place it so it's facing the board.
I don't know what that is.
This there, prop it up, right?
No,
No,
put
I'll
it
lay it down.
flat on the table.
He's gonna pull it up. He's magical back there. The wizard in the back corner. So as I was saying, first and foremost, the outdoor seating has been reduced to the 16 seats to comply with the existing CNRs. And upon my visual inspection on my way over here, I have requested that the franchisee, in fact, reduce the number of seats. There was a couple of extra seats that were put outside, so that has been rectified, and there are only 4 tables on the south side, as consistent with the approved site plan and 1999 decision. In addition, as was pointed out, I believe, by the board's counsel, the indoor seating has been correctly depicted on the floor plan as being the reduced 45 seats. And I'll go through each one of the other amendments that were made. And as I said, these have been provided to the village's outside consultant, and upon speaking with them today, they are in the process of reviewing them. Plan C2, there was a general note 27 that was revised to state that the site plan drawings comply with the Americans with Disability Act. Plan C3 has been revised to increase legibility of the stone and block drop inlet protection. With respect to Plan C4 and C4.1, parking spaces have been correctly aligned at 90 degrees and amended to comply with the 9 by 18 dimensions as required by the village. Then there was a notation AF has been added to display a no parking anytime sign for handicapped accessible aisles. Note H regarding ADA signage has been amended to state that the signage will be removed during construction and reused along with the new bollards as depicted in sheet C7. Plan C 4.1 provides proposed and existing sanitary calculations. With respect to Plan C5, grades and layout have been modified as necessary to comply with parking space dimension requirements. Plan C 4.1, Note 13 has been amended to provide for cleaning of all drainage inlets and storm water recharge. Plan C6 has been amended to provide details for the storm cleanout road box. Existing and proposed stormwater calculations for impervious areas have been included. Plan C 4.1 Note AG has been added to identify the purpose of the manhole cover to be removed. Plan C5 has been amended to call out the location of the external grease trap, septic tank, and sanitary pools. So those were all of the comments that were made by the board's outside consultant as well as this board. So just a little bit of background for you, just to kind of refresh your recollection. The property is presently approved with the McDonald's restaurant. Village records indicate that the property has been approved with such restaurants since circa 1970. As such, the fast food restaurant has been operated the property for approximately 48 years. As you are aware, the property is owned highway business and is currently developed with the restaurant and associated parking facilities. The existing building is 2,380 square feet. The applicant proposes to convert the existing tandem drive-through into a side-by-side drive-through and add 2 areas at the rear of the building totaling 287 square feet to provide additional kitchen, storage, and dining space. As I indicated before, and as Mr. Going will testify to, the amount of seating is actually going down by 10 seats. That's a consequence of compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Aisleways in between the seating had to be expanded, so that the net result was actually a reduction in the amount of seats. The subject property is bounded on the east by North Sea Road. At the northwest and southern lot lines, the property is bounded by other commercial uses, including the Southampton Tire Center, a People's United Bank, and the Hampton Center for Rehabilitation and Nursing. The uses of the neighboring parcels are in harmony with the continuation of the historic use of the property as a fast food restaurant, together with a modified drive-through and expanded building footprint. Respectfully, the subject property fits in well with its neighboring community and has done so for more than 48 years. What McDonald's is proposing is a substantial improvement to what presently exists from both an aesthetic and traffic perspective. Pursuant to the board's 1999 approval, McDonald's has filed the variance special permit application with this board to approve its conversion of the existing drive-through and a small expansion of 287 square feet. So in connection with the 1999 variance approval, there were some covenants and restrictions that were applied. The first being that there shall be no further enlargement of the restaurant building without approval from this board. And secondly, that the site improvements designed to significantly improve vehicular traffic flow, circulation, and parking shall not be substantially altered in the future without approval from this board. I submit to this board that we are only making those particular categories better in connection with the proposals before you in terms of traffic flow, circulation, and parking, which will be testified in a moment by Mr. Going. So as noted also in the 1999 variance approval, it was this board's position that a variance for the expansion of non-conforming use exceeding 50% of the original floor area may be granted pursuant to this board's general variance authority under certain circumstances, as I indicated. As depicted in the site plan drawings, the expansion of the rear building will not encroach upon or have any appreciable impact on traffic flow or circulation. And most importantly, it should be noted that McDonald's expansion, as proposed, will only constitute a total lot coverage of 7%, where 30% is permissible for conforming development. As part of the redevelopment, McDonald's is also updating the landscaping both in the front and rear of the property. And while the proposed improvements will reduce the number of parking spaces, the site will contain parking that exceeds the requirement of the village code by providing 45 spaces where 37 are required, a net plus of 8 stalls. So with that, I'd like to introduce not only Mr. Going, but Mr. Martin Swaggart from Core States. He is our project engineer. So if the board has any questions, I will allow you to ask Mr. Swaggart, and if not, we'll just proceed with Mr. Going to talk about traffic. Thank you.
Brown, before you, the 287 square foot addition,
Yes.
what is going to be included in that building area?
So,
Or seating, or kitchen area, what?
yeah. So it's been indicated here in bold by Mr. Swaggart that this area is really the pay area. You can see the third vehicle back on site plan drawing C4.1. This is really more of an expansion of the kitchen area, but there's not going to be any kitchen devices in there. It's really more for where the employee who stands to take the money and the cash register, and also on the microphone to take the drive-through orders will stand. And then a little further to the north, right here, this is the expanded dining room area. Is the floor plan on the back one? So although it's, as I indicated, although the dining room area is being expanded, the number of seats is being reduced by 10, which Mr. Swaggart could show you.
It's correct. We are expanding the dining area, but we're not adding seats. It's actually, the seating count's going down, but because of the decor renovations and their new kind of modern interiors that they're going to have, they need a little bit of extra room for ADA compliance to add their new kiosk ordering and things like that. So, like I said, although there is an expansion of the dining room, there is fewer seats.
What drawing are you referring to now?
I'm referring to, actually, that's the wrong one. I'd like to refer to A 1.0.
Is that in the smaller package as well?
Yes, sir. Yep. It's about 3 from the end, Mr. Rowe.
Okay,
It's drawing A1.0.
okay, got it.
Same.
And another, the other addition, which Mr. Brown mentioned as more of an operational kitchen expansion, it provides another advantage too by shifting the pay window where you pay for your food down a little bit. Provides what they call drive-through optimization, so they can fit a car between the windows where you can't do that now. So it allows, like I said, it provides more efficiency in preparing the orders and gets cars through the drive-through faster, basically, during peak hours.
I believe I stated last time, as much as 65% of the restaurant's business goes through the drive-through these days. Any further questions for Mr. Swaggart? No? Okay. I'd like to introduce Mr. Paul Going from Atlantic Traffic Design.
Good evening. Last time I was here, we spoke about some of the changes proposed, and primarily the biggest change is to add the side-by-side drive-through. Currently, there's what they call a tandem drive-through. There are two menu boards, two ordering points, but they follow one another. The tandem is more efficient than a regular drive-through where there's only one menu board, but not as efficient as the side-by-side drive-through. With the side-by-side drive-through, you can have two people ordering at the same time, but there's an additional advantage in that if one person is making a large or complicated order at one menu board, multiple orders can potentially be processed through the other order board while that's happening, so everybody's not stacking up. Second advantage of this layout is that it stores more cars in a smaller space. So whereas in the existing condition, the site can store 15 cars before extending out onto North Sea, in the proposed condition, it can store up to 19 cars before extending out onto North Sea. So that's an operational advantage. That's also a safety improvement by reducing the likelihood of the tail of the queue reaching the public roadway.
Question for you.
Sure.
Right now, with just the one pass-through and ordering point, and on a busy time of the day, you must have like a flow rate of how many cars you can go through. Does the flow rate increase by doing this, what we're doing now, so that you can serve more people in a shorter period of time? But how much more flow rate do you get by doing this?
I'm not really sure how much more flow rate. It really depends on a lot of factors. Definitely the side-by-side is better than the tandem. It may be 25% better, but the fact that it may have a better flow rate doesn't necessarily mean it's going to attract more business or serve more people. It depends on how many
It
people you
can
have coming.
if it's possible.
Yeah.
Is it a function of if the traffic's spilling out onto the road, people are just gonna keep on going?
Some places, some people do that. In other places, people do not, so.
If it looks too crowded, then,
Yeah.
it's like anything else, you don't wanna wait in a long line.
That's right, yeah. A long line does discourage some people, but it's also a safety issue.
So this is like Disney World, where you really can't see it.
Well, it's a busy road, North Sea
fast
Road.
pass. Yeah.
And at certain times of the day, it's more busy than others.
Yeah.
And so if the flow rate coming out of the restaurant is 25% more, does that mean it's putting 25% more cars out into the traffic? Because now you've got work traffic going both ways, people trying to get in and people trying to get out of the restaurant. I just didn't know if that was
Well,
like
The
25%.
choke point is the window where the food comes out, so I don't think you're gonna have an increased flow. Like I said, I just think you're gonna be able to put more people on the property, and it's gonna be less of a turnoff, I guess, because like you said, there are some times where, the traffic almost backs onto the street, and are you gonna go in? No, you're not.
Paul, why don't you go through your observations?
But they run, when they're busy, they'll have people pull over and they run the food out to them besides using the window, so.
Yeah, that's true.
If the road happens to be complicated, they'll do
Yeah.
that. They'll ask you to go to the
I was
side.
just curious if there was gonna be a bigger flow rate and a bigger impact onto North Sea Road,
Yeah,
because lots of times at your busy times, is the road's busy time, so.
Well, it's convenience use, so definitely when more people are traveling, more people are also coming to the restaurant. So in the morning, it's busy. In the afternoon or evening hours, it can be busy. We observed traffic and queuing at the site. We observed a maximum drive-through queue of 12 cars, where I said previously that 15 can be stored without reaching North Sea Road. So the 19 cars will improve that. And based on the traffic we observed, we estimated another 22 customers possibly in a peak hour, where New York State DOT and the Institute of Transportation Engineers generally consider 100 peak hour trips as a threshold over which more detailed analysis may be warranted. So with the 22 customers that...
So you're
that-
below the,
Correct.
And plus, I don't know if you heard, there's going to be a surplus of 7 cars that could go through the drive-through. The most he observed were 12, but yet we have room now for 19. So to avoid any spill out into North Sea Road, which was, I know, of utmost importance to you.
right.
Any other questions?
I have one question. And back in September, you provided the board with a letter that identified some of the factors here and your observations, particular as to a traffic analysis, perhaps what you're summarizing tonight.
Yes.
Have you updated that letter?
I have. Is that?
Yes, it's been submitted for January 15th.
Yeah, it's been submitted. Really, all that I changed in
Is
this,
that with your recent?
Yes,
Package,
January
yeah.
15th letter from Letter Traffic Design. It's in the packet. I have extra copies of it, if you like, Mr. Chairman.
I have,
I didn't get a copy. I don't know if the rest of the board got a copy.
Didn't you get the package?
Yes, it's
I do, but I don't have anything. I have a letter dated January 16th.
There was one letter that came through with the package that they submitted.
Thank you.
I have extra copies of the board.
Thank you.
so the primary change in the letter was to properly reflect that the extra outdoor seating was going to be removed, and that's reflected in the calculations there in terms of the parking requirement and the other calculations for the seats.
So there was just one other item, thank you, Paul, that I wanted to, I'm sorry the chairman's not here because I know this was very important to him, but he asked last
Not
time
the
we were
cups?
here. Yes, which did not go unnoticed, obviously. But I spoke to the franchisee, I spoke to McDonald's corporate. So what is included in your packet, we went and had a sign company actually make it up. He asked for a sticker to be placed on the drive-through window that said, "Please be kind to our neighbors and dispose of your garbage in proper receptacles, both in English and Spanish." So I've submitted that into the packet tonight. So just ask that it take its normal course. And that concludes our presentation. We are hopeful that you'll find that we've answered all the questions and comments, and that you can be assured that this facility is going to function actually better than it has been because of the changes that we're making. And with your approval, we'll proceed to the planning board to get final site plan approval. So, thank you.
Do you have any questions? More? We're probably going to need some time to look at the package, right?
Yeah, I just got it today.
Uh-huh.
This,
Yeah, not going to be any decision tonight. Wayne, did you have anything?
I just have to ask Mr. Brown, did you, you indicated before that you had sent something to our consultants?
Yes.
An entire package, all the information, including the report, the engineer's report?
Yes.
So Chip, you may,
So-
your office may already have all
must have
this.
it, yeah.
Okay, Kathy's already probably looking at it.
And that included the traffic, you said?
Yes. Ms. Eisman indicated she received it.
Do you have anything, Chip?
I don't. I'll coordinate with the planning review part of it and provide you any advice that I can.
Is there anyone from the public who'd like to be heard of this application? Therefore, I guess we're going to hold it open for all purposes. That'll give us a
I would
chance.
suggest that only to the extent that we get our consultants' input, and that way the applicants would have an opportunity to sort of respond to that. But I would sort of suggest that maybe if that could be done before the work session, they would have an opportunity to have any reply by that time.
Sure.
So we'll hold it open for all purposes.
Yes.
Charlie,
Charlie?
Yeah, a prior meeting, I don't know if it was the ZBA or a different board, but if you look at the photograph on the screen right there, there was discussion about the safety of people crossing into the parking area with people that were pulling away from where they picked up their food. And I haven't heard anything from them. They said they were going to look into that, but I haven't heard any discussion about doing anything that would be making that a safer situation.
Talking about where they would walk right in front of where you pick
Right
up
there.
the food.
If you look at the picture on the screen, the vehicles coming through there, because I'm a customer sometimes, and when you drive through there, sometimes somebody is walking fast from inside that walks across going to the parking lot. And to me, it presents a very unsafe situation. And there was discussion by some members of this group of McDonald's that they were going to look into that and try and figure out something that would accommodate making it a safer place. And I haven't heard anything in their presentation yet.
It's not exactly a blind corner. I mean, you have about 4 or 5 feet. to
But
see
if
where you're
you've
going.
driven through there, because I have,
I live here,
yeah. And sometimes if a kid's walking out, they're not looking at the cars.
Well, you
But
know,
the
I can
cars
see-
are not always looking at them.
With a sharp corner where you just turn and you're looking at it, that's one thing. But you have about 4 or 5 feet of looking at the car before you hit the road. So,
No, I don't agree with you whatsoever. I think it's a very dangerous situation, and I think they should address it.
I think when you cross the street, you look both ways.
I'm talking about when somebody's coming out of the building itself.
Yeah, you look both ways.
I understand your concern.
But there are children too there.
For McDonald's
Before
people
you cross the street.
can,
We didn't intend to ignore it. We
like with a school
intended to look
crossing,
at-
they'd have
Yes.
delineated lines that
Right.
would go across, where you could write in there crosswalk in
Yes.
a different color, so the car that's picking up its food, before it goes up, they see, that it is a crosswalk in front of them.
No, we discussed it internally.
Painting,
We intended on dealing with it at site plan approval, but for the gentleman's edification, there's a number of things that we could do. We've done it in other restaurants before. We could either stripe the parking lot area in front of the pickup window where he's describing, or in looking at the image, which is C4.1, where it's called out, the delineation P, as in Paul, we could do something with some fencing across to further delineate, so there's only one area to come off the curb, if I understand his safety concern. So by delineating that area and putting some striping in, we could better define it that it is a crosswalk area, and I think that will address his concerns.
Yeah, because I think the major part of your diagonal parking is right across from there, so.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you got families, little kids running from the car back and forth into the store.
Right.
So it would be anything you can do to delineate that there's a,
So what we've done in other instances is put a little fencing here, and then this way, this will be the main
I don't
crosswalk
understand
area,
the
and then we
fencing.
could stripe it
So you give them
right
4 or
across.
5 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah. What about a speed bump?
we would have no issue with that.
Anybody else who wants to be heard from the public? Therefore, we're going to hold this open for all purposes. Can I have a motion?
I move.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, Tran.
Okay. On the application of case number 3015, Oded Nakami, 1471 Meadow Lane, Nakmani, excuse me.
Anybody here?
Is there
Mr.
anybody here for
Chairman,
that?
I got a call earlier, the attorney was
Oh, the one that's
at
gonna be
another
late?
meeting, and
Okay.
he asked that if he wasn't here by this time, that you put his second call, and he's
You
expected.
just told me that and I forgot. So we'll leave that down to the end.
Correct.
Put it back.
I guess you better. Next one is 3012, John Danielson, 30 Sanford Place. Is there anybody here for that? On that one. 3026, Akiva Goldsman, separate property trust, 1431 Meadow Lane, says adjourned to February.
Yeah, this was the case, the dock case that you, they had actually asked for an adjournment to February, so.
At the rate we're going, I'll be home for an early dinner. So, brings us down to new cases. 3029, Anthony Albanese, 64 Almond Street.
For the applicant, David Gilmartin Jr., Farrell Fritz, let the record reflect, I'm handing up the affidavit of posting and mailing. I also received a call from the village attorney who was looking for the deed. There was a prior decision on this property, a copy of that, and a copy of the original survey, which is in a packet that I've prepared for you with the documents that I'm going to refer to.
Sure. 3026.
Yeah, I got it.
3029, excuse me.
I only got two hands, you know. Want to get one stamped?
Can you get one stamped and take one for yourself?
Okay, so the applicant is requesting certain variances, so he's able to take the existing house down, demolish it, and build a new house. If you look at the surveys on this property, you'll see the challenges that we faced in designing a house. It's located on the corner of Moses and Armand, so we were contending with two front yards in the design, and if you look at the survey, it is almost triangular in shape, so it's wide, not code wide on the Moses Lane portion, and then it gets narrow as you go down Armand. So if you see here, and we're almost in a triangular situation. This is the existing survey map, and that's a survey of the existing house. So what we tried to do was accommodate our neighbors on either side. So we tried to bring the house as far as we could to Moses Street, so we're basically in the same footprint. We moved the house to the north, away from our southerly neighbor, who I think is probably the most impacted, and placed it there. That required some minor variances. So we need a front yard variance from Armand for the porch and for the house, which you'll see right here and here. We needed a front yard variance from Moses for the proposed patio, which is at grade. There was some discussion with the building department about that variance, whether it was necessary or not. We don't have any columns, but there's a roof overhang, so we included it. Our side yard variance is from 15.2 to 15, and again, we're currently at 12, so we're pushing the house as much as we can north. We need a variance for the projection of the cellar entrance, which, if you see, is right here. We're permitted to project 4 feet into the side yard. We are looking for 5 feet on that. That is at grade and will not be seen by any of the neighbors. And finally, in your packet, you'll see that there's an 878 cubic foot intrusion into the pyramid law. There's an excellent excellent depiction of that, which is in your packet at 5, that shows the minimal intrusion into that pyramid.
That goes toward Moses?
This is
South.
Yeah, south. It's south, right? So not on Moses or
Oh,
Armand. We
toward
were
the south.
40 feet on
It
each
looks
side.
at the street, not at the neighbor.
No, it looks at the neighbor.
It looks at the neighbor.
Oh, okay. Well, you said it was on the Armand Street side.
South side.
I said that.
South side, yeah.
South side is toward the neighbor.
Okay, so these are on the south side.
Correct, that's from the south side. And we do have letters from that neighbor who is appreciative of our efforts. We have a letter from the neighbor directly across Armand. So our Moses Lane neighbor property, we have a letter from this neighbor, and then a letter from that neighbor. That's the neighbor that had opposed the previous application back in, I think it's 2015. I think you'll see it. It's a very nice letter that he did. We didn't request it. As far as the character of the neighborhood, I've provided you with several photos of the neighborhood. If you look at 7, I've taken a picture of directly across Armand, fairly big. We have a letter in support from that neighbor. This is a cross on Moses. Again, it's a 2-story large structure. Again, cross Moses, another larger structure. Again, this is the third one that's directly across the street on Moses. A little bit of a smaller structure in the first 2, but still fairly large. This is down Moses across Armand, which is an enormous house.
Pelham Street, isn't it?
It's down Moses past Armand. So we're on
Pelham
the...
Street.
No, Pelham, I'm sorry. That's true.
Right forks there, the right fork is Pelham.
This is on Moses, an enormous structure. It's a big lot. This house is directly to our east on Armand. This is the house in the corner of Henry and Armand. We have a letter. It looks directly at our garage. Further east down Armand. And then the last house on the south side of Armand before the corner, which I have a shot of. And then this is on the, this is a corner lot on Armand at the eastern end.
I'm on Halsey Street, huh?
Yes, yeah, right, and that's the other corner on Halsey. It's the southern quarter, that was the northern quarter. See, all of those houses are 2-story. We're looking to do approximately a 3,800 square foot house, which compared to our neighbors, I think is fairly modest. And it will fit in with the character of the neighborhood. Our lot is one of the biggest. Again, the challenge is it's almost triangular in shape. We submitted a survey from Squires and Holden where our building envelope is outlined in red, and then the accessory envelope. So you can see the challenges that we have with this particular lot. And based on the narrowness of the lot, we really didn't have any alternative. With that in the front yard, the challenge is we didn't have any alternative. If we're going to have a 2-story house, we're going to impact the pyramid law in some way. In connection with the substantiality argument, all of these are minor variances. I think the largest of the front yard variances is 13%. The rear yard variance is 1.4%. The proposed cellar entrance variance is probably the biggest at 20%, but that's at grade. Nobody's going to see that from a neighboring property. With respect to the environmental impact, I would suggest that there is no environmental impact here. It's a type 2 variance, and the New York State DEC has been clear that those are categorically do not have a negative environmental impact on the property. I have the property owners here today, Anthony Albanese, and we have the architect, Lucy Liu, here. We can answer any questions. I think it's a pretty straightforward application.
If the existing house were built today, it would need relief, would it not?
Yes.
Need some relief?
Yes, setback. And it's, I've given you, you have the survey, but I've also shown you what the current structure looks like. It's a 50s ranch.
Yeah.
I think it's time for it to be
Which
up.
nobody builds today.
Yeah.
I do have a question. You're asking for relief for a little front porch off of the front entry is what I would think. And it seems that you have plenty of room where you could just shift the house back 5, 10 feet, and you wouldn't need that variance. And it seems like the parking is very tight between the house and the parking and the hedge. And if you move that back a little bit, it would give you a little bit more relief there also.
Want to move the house to the south?
Well, you wouldn't need any variance for here, and
You mean to the east?
You move it to the east.
yeah, right.
Well, you're defining,
And it would give you a little more setback off of Moses.
so Dan, you're talking about what's labeled as a proposed patio
Yeah,
off
but
the
he
front.
said that there's going to be a roof over it.
Could you clarify that, David? Is there
It's proposed right now, it says proposed patio, and when I spoke to the architect, there's something coming out of the roof that's over it. There are no stanchions or poles that hold it up. It just protrudes. The building inspector had,
Is this the area that we're talking about?
building inspector, said,
Yeah.
you may as well ask for it. He didn't know whether we needed the relief or not, so we put it in there. As we get closer, I think we get narrower to, and I think it'll create a challenge of being able to maintain the front yard setbacks that we have. Does that make sense? As we head east, the lot gets narrower, and we'll need to.
Yeah, you're 35 feet off the porch, and if you go back, you're going to get a little bit
We're
closer.
going to get closer, so we juggled this as much as we could. The driveway, again, it's something that we can talk about. We thought this was a better setup as opposed to what currently happens, where we drive straight in, you can look through the hedges. Here, the cars are hidden from view as we come around. That'll be heavily landscaped, so the cars won't be visible from the street. We thought that was a nicer setup for our neighbors.
You also have 4 air conditioning units that would be the south side of the house, which is,
Correct.
summertime can be noisy. Can they be set down?
Yeah, you mean
Yeah.
sink them?
Yeah, because that mitigates noise from these units.
We could try to maybe sync
You
them.
gotta go up to a microphone, sir.
Oh, sorry. Sure. Hi, I'm Anthony Albanese, the owner of the house. I'm happy to look into that. Maybe we can sync them partially and then put hedging around it. I don't know if we can sync them entirely, but we could look into syncing them partially and hedging them in so it'll minimize the noise. And that neighbor, again, is fully supportive of the plans and sent a nice letter.
Yeah, until they hear 4 air conditioning units run.
He'll probably put his on that side too, but
Yeah.
but I'm happy to do anything we can to minimize any noise disruption.
In our discussions, he was happy to have the house here. If you look at the aerial, the main part of his living space was here, so he liked the separation there. That was, one of the reasons we ended up in the spot that we did.
There's also currently the AC, there's only one AC unit because it's a smaller house, but there is an AC unit there. He's never complained about that. The additional ones are going to go where the current AC unit is.
What exists between the property lines? I see a stockade fence. Is that your stockade fence, or is that the neighbor's?
The stockade fence is right on the property line. It actually predates me, so I'm not sure who put it in, but we're both maintaining it.
There's no hedge there between your properties?
The hedge, there's a hedge starting after where the house ends, but not right behind the house.
I think what we're talking about is right here. There's a line that's put up that separates the two houses. I was there the other day. I think they're probably 10 to 12 feet tall in this area, and then this is a long hedge line that separates the property.
When I landscaped it, the neighbor had asked that I put a hedge where my pool is so that his backyard and my backyard will both be private, so we have very tall arborvitae there.
So that's your hedge,
That's my hedge, yes. He asked me to
and
plant
it just
that.
doesn't continue
It
further
doesn't continue
west?
past the house, although once I build the new house, I'll probably do some additional landscaping. But I planted a hedge where the pool is.
Property is extremely well screened. I'm on street, you have a whole road down there.
Yeah, I put those cypress trees in and treat them like, babies. They're doing well, and it's a very thick barrier now.
Doing very well.
Seems like you have plenty of parking, so.
I do, because I have the back garage
Right.
and then the front.
Mr. Gilmartin, can you tell me, is there some document that tells us that it's, the proposed house complies with GFA requirements?
Well, we had that discussion with the building department in preparing this, and it met the GFA requirements.
Yeah, I just didn't see anything on the architectural plans, or, I know the survey has lot coverage, so
The architect did go through that with Mr. Talbot, and we complied.
it'd just be good to have something from the architect in the file that says it does comply.
Okay, we'll do that.
Can you submit floor plans?
What do we?
We have floor plans.
Maybe take them in a smaller format?
Yeah, sure.
It's the first 2 pages.
Anybody? The chimney, is that in the front yard setback?
I was told by the building department that that did not really need relief. We asked that directly. They said they do not ask for, they don't need that to be in, it's okay being in the setback.
You can put the chimney in the front yard setback without relief requested?
Yeah, they allow you to, including experience in the past, where they'll allow the chimney to be within the setback.
No, it's not within the setback.
No, yeah, it can be, they allow it to be outside the
It
setback.
can be anywhere outside the setback?
I don't know about anywhere.
It's gonna be
but
attached to the
To
house.
the building,
Right.
and the building is within the setback, the chimney can,
I hear.
You want to see these, Mark?
Yeah. Is that, can you make it so that the chimney is inside of the setback?
And that, we're at, we're at about,
Which setback you're talking about, because
35.
the required is 40.
Right, and they're,
They're already asking for relief there in the corner at 35.
right. So you can either move the chimney to another location, or eliminate it, or narrow the porch.
You're thinking you want to see it within the 35-foot setback that they're
Yeah,
asking for?
I'd like it to be less intrusive on Armand. Because right now, it being in the setback and as tall as it is, it just seems to me like anybody going down Armand is gonna be confronted with a large chimney. And it looks like, is it just an outdoor chimney? It's just an outdoor, it's just an outdoor fireplace?
Incorporate it into the,
If we lower the height, it might,
would that be more satisfactory if we lowered the height of it?
I don't wanna be,
it's
It's
to be a
also,
safety issue.
just so you know, sir, it's, the chimney is in the backyard,
yeah.
so you're not gonna see it, because it's, as one of the other members said, I have that row of cypress trees. So even though when you're looking at it now, it looks like it's in the front of the house, the hedging wraps around, and the porch is not gonna be visible from the street, because that's gonna be hedged in part of the backyard. You know, it's awkward, because it's a corner lot, but the chimney, when you pull up to the house, you're not gonna see the chimney or the porch. That's gonna be completely screened in the hedging of the backyard.
and if you lower the chimney, you're supposed to have at least 10 feet from,
That's the issue.
yeah, and
I'd be happy to lower the chimney. I think it's a code issue.
No, it's, I don't even know if it is a code issue, but you can have a draw issue on the fireplace where, if it's
smoke
below the roof peak and it's not 10 feet away from that
Smoke
roof
going
peak,
to the house.
yeah, you can get a downdraft.
Right.
Yeah, no, I wasn't proposing that idea. It just looks like it's an outdoor fireplace. It doesn't, I'm just looking quickly at the plans, but it doesn't look like it connects to the second floor either.
It doesn't, it's just an outdoor fireplace.
It's incorporated on the eaves of the porch. If you look at this.
I can look at
Yeah,
it more
yeah,
carefully,
yeah.
and I can look at it more carefully, see if I can lower it. Generally speaking, a fireplace needs to be 2 feet, about a 10-foot projection. So it's whatever, when you have the fireplace, you kind of draw a 10-foot circle, whatever it touch.
That's
Not
what I was,
from-
that's
from
That's what he
there.
was saying, right?
Yeah.
And from that, you need.
The problem is it's
2
not
feet.
10 feet from the house is the
Right.
problem.
Correct. So
Correct,
it's- I think I looked at it, but I can look at it more closely.
What about
because-
putting it on the other side? Does that? I'm
I think
just looking at the
then you
floor
start to
plans
get
now.
into the neighbor. Right, you're talking on the other side of the house, so we're
So
putting it on
there's
the
a cellar
south side.
entrance there. You get a cellar entrance there.
That, and I think we start to really impact our southerly neighbor with.
Well, it has to coincide with the floor plans, doesn't it?
Sorry?
Has
Yeah,
to
the reason it's,
coincide
the
with
reason it's,
floor plans. It has
yeah,
to
the
be in
reason
your
on that
room.
side is because the other side is where the kitchen is, so that's where the barbecue, built-in barbecue is gonna be. But again, I think in this picture, it's a little bit misleading because I really don't think you're gonna see it from Armand, because if you look at the picture, the hedging wraps around, and then it goes to here. So you're gonna have the hedging, so it's not, I don't think you're really gonna see it. I think it just, in the picture, it stands out so much, but I think that's the backyard.
Once it's landscaped.
So you saying where the wire fence is shown on the survey, that there's another symbol there, is that proposed hedging?
No,
there?
there's hedging already there.
And
so the
that's
cypress
not being
trees-
removed?
Right, it's not being removed. The cypress trees go all the way down, and then the hedging comes all the way up to the house, because I want the backyard to be backyard and private.
You see that, Mark?
On the survey where it says arborvitae?
Here's
Where it
a-
says wire fence.
See
Yeah,
where
wire
it says
fence.
wire fence, there's a symbol there, there's an existing hedge there. That goes
That runs
north-south.
north-south.
That runs north, south, south.
So he's saying in addition to the hedge along the street, you have that hedge that's sort of
I mean, when you drive,
encompassing the backyard, but
when you drive by, you cannot see into the backyard at all, and that porch and chimney are gonna be in the backyard.
The
I would
hedges
just say,
is-
Mark, that even if, your first question was the setback, that the chimney didn't extend out into the setback to 35 feet, but it, visually, it's not gonna be a difference whether you're a foot or two further south into the, if you incorporate it and move the setback. So you're still gonna see the chimney in the same manner as you see on the plan. And the code does allow ordinarily, chimneys in ordinary projections to extend no more than 4 feet into the required yard.
No more than 4 feet into the required
Yard.
setback?
The chimney is typically 2 feet.
This one's about 2 feet?
Yeah.
2 feet.
And your hedges, the existing hedge here, how tall are they now? Like 20 feet?
They're tall. I don't know
Yeah,
exactly,
think
but
it's-
they're very
it's
tall.
very
yeah.
tall, yeah.
We have a photo here. If you look, this is
Actually,
the
it's-
functional backyard.
I'm sorry.
Right, so this is the functional backyard. It's really a front yard, but it functions here. And then this is the line of arborvitae that's being discussed. It's got to be somewhere in the 20-foot high range.
Yeah, I think it's
That
about
provides
20 feet.
screening. If you look on the left-hand side there. Here.
Those are just for the winter coverings to keep them.
Out down
How tall's your
Almond
pool
Street
house?
is very heavily screened.
How tall
The pool house is 14 feet high, so that gives you a sense of how high that cypress
Yeah.
trees are.
And how high is the chimney?
Gotta be close to 32 feet, right?
No,
30 feet.
yeah, not, yeah, probably 30.
I'm just saying, it's almost the same height of the house.
30 feet?
Where's the elevation? Where's the elevation?
It's got to be around 30 feet, yeah.
But I don't think those trees are 30 feet tall, do you?
Yeah, but your sight line is gonna be higher than that.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure out if it's accurate,
I
that you're
was
not
wrong.
gonna see it because of the
I did
trees.
draw.
See it.
draw it,
Did you see the top of the chimney?
You see the
Yeah,
top of
yeah,
it.
yeah, it's about 30.
You walk around and there's lots of chimneys. Tops.
Well, you can see in the picture that you had up there, the neighbor's house chimney was
It's huge.
the same.
They have a big chimney.
And again, with that issue, I was told by the building department as we were looking at this application that it wasn't regulated. We needed relief.
what's before the board is whether or not we should allow that portion of the house to be less than the current setback into 34 feet or so, or 36 feet. So it's all part and parcel of it.
Yeah, I understand.
It was obvious when this application came before us the first time that they weren't going to stay with that same house. It's
Right.
completely out of character now, that house.
I think the neighbors are excited for that house to go.
The house has been there forever, and
It's a 1950s ranch, right? It's
Yeah.
one of the last ones in my
they
area.
used to build them here all the time in the 50s and
Yeah.
60s. They don't build them anymore.
No, they don't fit in.
The land's too valuable. You
Land's
can't
too
build a one-story house.
Yeah.
Here's one of our neighbors across the street, fairly big chimney that goes onto it, it's like onto a deck. Another one down Ormond. Shoot the Johnsons. Another two fairly high chimneys that you see in the entrance of the property.
So in the neighborhood, it's not out of character for the neighborhood. There are other houses in the neighborhood with tall chimneys.
Yeah. And again, you'll just see the top of it really, because most of it will be concealed.
And you're, just from an architectural point of view, is that the back porch, it's a wall of glass that's opening from the dining room and the living room. That's why it needs to be as wide as it is.
There's sliders, there's sliders that open all the way up.
That, right, it's all open to the backyard.
It's all open, yeah.
Want to put that in the file?
Yeah, stamp it.
Do the floor plans indicate any calculations on GFA?
It does.
It does, perfect.
The GFA's on the floor.
It looks like, comes up to 3,800 square feet.
Perfect.
Do you have any other questions? Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to be heard? There's nobody in the public.
We are the owners to the south. We are the neighboring property, and we do want the house situated the way they have it, closer to, if possible, closer to Moses. So we would like that setback, because our house is actually situated toward the back of the property that we're on, and we have a funny situate where we're sideways to him. So if he was forward, our bedrooms would not be looking into their bedrooms. So that's why we support the way that they've.
You have any concerns with the chimney?
No, the chimney I don't care about, but I would like screening. I'd like a wall of screening. But other than that, we really do want that Moses.
I'm not sure we got your name for the record.
Jolie Sanchez.
We haven't met yet. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too.
So you're on Moses to this?
We are directly to the south. We are
On
the
Moses.
neighbor.
Which house are you in?
That's directly to the south.
This one.
Right here.
Yeah, so it's
So
better.
we would like it
yeah.
more
Are you
forward.
Joe's wife?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice to meet you.
Yeah, you know
Her husband's
that,
the
huh?
greatest. Her husband is the best.
Yes. So we would prefer that if that's possible.
Thank you. You want to close this for decision?
Yes, unless Charlie wants to say something.
You got something to say, Charlie? Can I have a motion to close this
I
for
move that
decision?
we close this for decision.
Thank you.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
15 never showed up.
Now, we still got to wait for that.
You can do the seconds if you want. I didn't mean to.
You want to call Mr. Danielson's case?
What do we do with that?
Yeah,
There's nobody else here.
Well, I think you just officially call the case, and
All right,
if
we're
he's not
calling
here,
John
adjourn it for all
Danielson, 30 Stanford Place. Case number 3012. Nobody here.
He's in the sick hole.
I know, hold on, we've communicated. So Danielson's adjourned for all purposes.
Need a motion to adjourn that for all purposes?
I move that we adjourn that for all purposes.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Now,
Now, the other case, 1471, which is, was re-advertised to add additional relief, so we need the applicant here to get jurisdiction. We have been, as I mentioned, they communicated they were in a hearing in Sag Harbor. I think Mr. Voorhees,
I just got an update from them. They're about 10 minutes away, and it was indicated that whatever you have to do they would understand.
10 minutes
Wait 10
away
minutes, I
from
guess,
where?
right?
They're,
From here,
they're headed here?
yes.
I'm fine with it, I just.
Okay.
Take a break?
Your 10 minutes is not 40 minutes, right?
Well, that I can't account for.
set a timer.
Just only reporting what I heard.
So if you want to just take a break for 5 to 10 minutes and wait and see what happens?
Sure.
or- Charlie, you ready?
Right there. Paperwork out of the way.
Is that what they call it?
Oh, wait.
Something near you, this boss?
He's only got two hands.
It's,
You got two hands. I'm sitting in the wrong seat.
west of Road D. It's small, so that might be why it's a tear.
Proposed two-story house, so I don't know if they're renovating or tearing it down, you know?
Well, they're moving it. I doubt they're gonna keep anything because they're moving it.
They'll tear it down.
Yeah, I don't see why. It's not good.
It's not cost effective to try to move them. and
Really?
They're gonna meet the new FEMA codes and all that, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he gave you those. I called you, what, an hour before the meeting?
Is that,
There's very few people now who can see their way to renovating an older house.
You ready to go, Charlie?
Because most of the cost, as you know, is the framing.
yeah.
And then you start to.
Well, it becomes hand labor, you know, and that's, you know, we put men to take it apart carefully.
Yeah, and what are you observing when somebody can frame it and, you know, in a week you
By
build
yourself,
a
Brian?
newly framed house.
I know.
Yeah, Katie is at the meeting still, and she's a couple behind me, so she's probably not making it. She's like 5 applications after me, so.
Oh, okay.
Which one are we listening to?
He's cursing you.
Knock money.
She was carrying a window in, so.
That was adjourned.
No, we put it on delay.
Okay.
On the application of case number 3015, Oded Nakmani, 1471 Meadow Lane.
Good evening, members of the board. Attorney Brian DeSessa, 2462 Main Street, Suite 7, attorney for the applicant. Appreciate the board's kindness in waiting for me to get here this evening. When we were here last, Mr. Voorhees wasn't here, so we wanted an opportunity.
Sessa, did you submit a new
Posting and mailing, yes.
message? Okay,
Yeah, it's here.
sure.
Yes, I submitted new affidavits of posting and mailing with respect to the additional relief of pyramid that was discovered at the last hearing. Mr. Florio, the architect for the project, had spoken with the building department. Miscommunications, but we do have it resolved now. We did repost and mail for that. It is approximately 1,497 square feet in one section on an elevation, and 57 cubic feet on the front elevation. And then the side elevation, the building again is 24 feet in height. We did also adjust, in response to Mr. Voorhees' letter to the board, we adjusted and reduced the size of the structure, the deck, and pulled away further from the wetlands. Specifically, the western deck was previously at 38.7 feet, and now we're proposing it to be at 47.7 feet, so we were able to move it, reduce the size of it, and shift it more away from the wetlands. As you may recall, the western side of this property is kind of wrapped by a crescent moon in wetlands area. There is a proposed pool of 44.6 feet, which is now being proposed at 51.3 feet. There was original deck coverage of, as of the last meeting, 997 square feet, and that had been reduced to 870 square feet. With this move to the east, we were able to increase the proposed revegetation an additional 1,000 square feet from what was proposed at 4,177 square feet to now be 5,175 square feet. Upland coverage is now 20%, whereas of the last submission it was 20.8%, which was still a reduction to what exists, but now down to the 20%. And then the pyramid was added. The board had questions for me with respect to the railing that surrounds the
solar panels and the bulkhead to get there. I spoke to the applicant about that. We can reduce that. We could remove the railings. There's not relief for that, but we're happy to remove the railings and reduce that access to a hatch or some kind of maintenance access to make it look less like usable space. If that was a concern of the board, the applicant is willing to do that. Again, we're doing a new innovative system. We're moving further away from the wetlands, increasing the buffer area, moving the house into FEMA compliance. So I'm happy to answer any questions or direction from the board. I've spoken to the neighbor, both neighbors have reviewed the applications. I spoke to them on the initial mailing, and then subsequent, I've sent them copies of the plans, and they didn't indicate to me any concerns with the plan.
Well, I'm happy with the glass railings going away.
We can do that. Yeah, there's no relief for it. It was an
Changing it to
architectural step,
hatchways,
so
it would
happy to do
better.
that. Yeah, I know that was a concern, and that's not a problem. Again,
Have we granted pyramid relief along there before?
Excuse me?
Have we granted pyramid relief?
Yes, you
yeah, on the
just did it.
street, there was
In that
there's
area.
several applications on the street as they become redeveloped and lived
Did it a few.
that have been done. I
Just
submitted
did
that in
a similar project, Madison
chart
Avenue
at the first submission
Partners.
as to it.
Okay.
Same
it really is
reason.
very
You
minimal.
had an existing situation, you want to move it away from the wetlands and thus pushes against the pier.
If we push this to the west, we could comply, but pushing it to the west decreases the amount of wetland setbacks. We kind of pushed as far as we could for dimensional setback to that side, and then again,
So the wetlands gain, the pyramid loses.
So it's a trade-off on that.
Same thing with the street, right?
And the street front, we
Wetlands
came
gain
closer to the street to move away from the wetland.
Yeah.
And that's really it's this wall that divides kind of privacy and architectural design. And it's 57 cubic feet. It's a thin design wall, so the whole front is not as, gives it some character, the architect tells me. Again, from the street, this is not a project we were able to do a Fuji sandblock system, so there's no retaining wall. So that even though we're putting in the new IA system, in that southeastern corner, there's enough depth to groundwater to have the plastic cubes in grade with a little bit of grade around them with no need for retaining walls. We triple checked that with the health department and the DEC, so we're not slamming a cement wall up that as you drive by you'll be able to see. We snake the driveway and there's no proposed gate, so although you'll get glimpses of the house, it still gives the homeowner some privacy from that perspective.
I checked in the past down here because of, you're taking a house down that's there?
I am, yes. Well, that's the
Yeah, and
proposal.
then, amount of construction equipment and stuff, we've always had bonding, we've always had building methodology, we always had how much parking for dumpsters and
do have
equipment
that.
on property, do we have that?
We
Yeah, that
submitted
was part of the original package.
as well as a construction.
And were you happy with that?
Yeah, that looked satisfactory. I did look over a number of items again, and Mr. DeSace's December 14th letter is pretty much what he just summarized
Yes.
for the purpose of the board in terms of the changes. All of the changes are certainly in the right direction. It's been compressed a little bit more. I know I mentioned at the last meeting that this was heard back in November, that, this board, you guys have to make a kind of a judgment decision as to whether or not the improvements are sufficient enough to justify the house location, which is being pulled back, decking is being removed, but the difference here is that a pool is being added. So I did look to see if there were any cases that were in the neighborhood search, which was Exhibit 3 of the original package. And I didn't really see that in terms of existing new pool decisions.
Two reconstructed pools to the east, and then in that consideration, I have aerials that just kind of overlay house immediately to the east, and then two to the east. But the thought there is, while we're pulling away from the wetland, while we're reducing the lot coverage, and we're putting the pool feature in the deck that is, reduced size and further from the wetlands, with, the ozonated pool as we put in our construction methodology, dry wells for runoff on that, dry wells for, in terms of mitigating factors, dry wells for a 2-inch rain event on the new house, new sanitary system. So a lot of mitigating factors, increasing the wetland area, increasing the coveted buffer area. We thought were all positives to allow for that. And again, as I started, we're willing to remove those features on the top that the board had some concern with as well in consideration of the application.
So it's really just, you know, does it establish a precedent? And I understand the mitigating factors. It is a constrained lot, but what they're doing overall is reducing the coverage, compressing the house and building, and, you know, incorporating the pool into the deck. Brian, is there a
whole
The
area.
fence?
existing house now is how many feet off the road?
So the existing house is, it's, I forgot how far the existing.
I was just curious to how much in front, if it's gonna be much in front of the other houses. you know?
It's in front of, I have that written somewhere. It's 20 feet forward of where it is the proposal.
Okay.
So it becomes in front of that. It's 59 feet from the street. And that 59 feet, so it'll move into, it basically moves into this area. This entire area and this new area here, as well as when the house shifts here, all is the coveted wetland and that will be increased here. And this area here is the area where there's lawn, is the proposed area for the new IA system. So we're introducing the IA system in an area that, you know, already has lawn and has been disturbed, so it's not, we're not putting it into a native area. We've augmented the native area to the best we can, so it's contiguous wetlands and habitat on that.
And there is a color-coded diagram, Brian, it may help. The red
On the,
dashed line gives you some indication, but it's a little hard to read.
Ask her to stamp that one.
You want for the file?
I'm looking for, this one was hard to see. This was one of the original ones that was presented to the board, where the house and the existing house is and how everything is shifting landward and eastward. This way. Currently, the steps currently are 29 feet from the deck, 29 feet from the wetland, so we're increasing that to over 51 in the closest area to the wetland. And it would be 59.1 feet from the street, and that's to,
And you're going from 29 to what, 51?
so the closest area, the current step was 29 feet, and now we're in that same area, which is the northwest corner is now 51.3 feet. So on this survey, a little larger, this is the current deck and steps, and then everything proposed now is moving back to this line. So this whole area all becomes revegetated now on the wetland side and the water side.
And those numbers have expanded as well.
Yes. The light underlay color at the 29, 31 is all, and then 53.6 is where the corner of that deck and pool-in deck is proposed.
Brian, have you shown the fence for the pool?
It's on the deck, so they're going to have the fencing incorporated into the deck, around the deck. It's a child safety fencing.
And the required
Yeah.
building department
Correct.
fence?
Yep, door alarm is going to have everything that the health and safety code would require.
Is the hedge along the street going to be retained?
Yes, the planting plan shows the, it's going to be retained and augmented. This was a plan that was submitted, and there's the red cedars added to the front, natural red cedars, and then the planting plan was to the western side. This is the area that's all going to be revegetated, and then augmented on the eastern side as well after construction, as well as you notice on the survey, on the picture, this grassed area, parking area, now becomes planted area, and then that's the new parking area, and that'll be the staging area that's used for construction. which is already cleared of any natural vegetation now. So we're going to use it for construction staging and then turn it into parking and re-veg on that area. So the cars, once you park, turn in, they won't be visible, will be less visible from the street.
Would you review the planting schedule of what he's planting there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all native species. It looked like an acceptable planting plan.
So Brian, I just want to go back to what you said the applicant is offering. So this railing, this clear railing, but this part of the structure is what, the bulkhead for the stairs?
That was the bulkhead for the stairs.
So that will all be removed?
I could reduce that size to the service thing and take the railings off.
So how long do you think the architect would need to give us revised plans?
2 days, 3 days, it's in a CAD file. It's
Would
not-
that just be a hatchway then up under the
It'd be a
roof?
hatchway just to get up there for,
That'll be
it would lessen.
6
what's-
or 8 inches above the
some- Yeah,
roof
whatever he
surface?
can, maybe it's a foot, whatever the rain, something to get out.
I have no further comments.
Anybody on the board have any other comments? Wayne, got anything else?
I have nothing else.
Anyone from the audience wishes to be heard? You want to hold this open, or you want to close the decision?
I think that if they can get us the plans, unless the board has any other further things, or Chick has any further things, but if we can get those plans in by the work session, we can certainly be in a position to make a decision.
You can have those in.
All right, so we'll close it for decision then.
Very good, thank you.
Have a motion.
I move that we close it for decision.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
January 24th,
Today's January.
zoning board of appeals.
Oh,
You gotta say it.
Forgot.
no, I'm putting stuff away here. I can only do one thing at one time. I move that this January 24th meeting, 2019, of the Southampton Village Zoning Board of Appeals be adjourned.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.